Should you buy the Bambu Lab P1S or the P2S? I bought both of them using my own money, and today I'm gonna hopefully help you figure out which one might be best for you. This video is not sponsored, and I have well over 500 hours on the P2S and over 1,400 hours on the P1S. So I've been using these quite a bit. Let's get the biggest question out of the way: print quality. We're going to do a benchy, a functional print, and a model from FILAMENT to compare them side by side. Let's start with the benchy, because it didn't go smoothly. So here is the benchy from the P1S. We can see that it printed quite well. A little bit of cooling change right here, but nothing substantially that bad. Now, if we look at my first P2S benchy that I made, there's definitely some cooling issues that was going on here. But what I then realized is that the auxiliary fan on the P2S is on the opposite side of the P1S. So once I rotated the model, we got a proper looking benchy. So now we can have a proper comparison between these two, and you can see they both printed out quite nicely using FILAMENT PLA. For the next print, I figured I'd print something a little more functional, since apparently not everyone loves printing random stuff like I do. So I went with this remote holder, and honestly, same story here. Both of these came out really clean, and I'm not seeing any meaningful difference between the two. At this point, it's getting pretty clear. Print quality between these two is basically the same. First layer on both turned out quite nicely. As we can see here, this is the P2S, this is the P1S. There's realistically no print quality difference if you're using the funny skin, the fuzzy skin. Let's just talk about something real quick. Only about 2% of you are subscribed. Let's change that. I want to hit 25,000 by the year end. Help me make that happen. Hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, consider checking out my Patreon down in the description below as well if you want to see extra content and maybe even get some early videos. Now back to the video. Printing this Darth Sidious bust from FILAMENT. Once again, I'm still using the red FILAMENT PLA. I haven't removed the supports yet, so let's see how easy they are to come off. This is the P1S, and quite easy, and I think the supports did a decent job of coming off. Next up for the P2S. Came off a little bit nicer. So now, as you can see in real world printing, there's really not much of a difference. But like I said, if I missed something, definitely let me know down in the comments below, because realistically, I can't see everything and I need your help. Now look, there's no denying that the P2S has a much better screen and much better features overall. Let's go down them real quick just to say what's better and what it has versus the P1S. These are gonna be the main differences between the two printers. The P2S screen is bigger, it's a touchscreen, and it swivels, which is a nice little feature. It's definitely a lot easier to use. But that's not saying that the other one over there isn't too bad either. Look, there's no doubt that the P2S screen is better. The P1S screen still holds its own. It's still really easy to use, as long as you're not trying to load filament into your AMS. Also, don't worry about this little guy. This is the Panda Touch, which doesn't work with the newer firmware anymore, so it's kind of obsolete, but I haven't updated the firmware on this thing, so it still works. Also, while both of these printers are using my BQ Glacier build plates, that's not what they come with. They come with a standard gold PEI textured build plate on both of them, so that's gonna be the same. One thing that the P2S also does is that the quick nozzle swap system is significantly easier versus the P1S. To remove the nozzle on the P1S, you do have to remove a couple screws and unhook some connections. I do get a little anxious if I have to swap out the nozzle on the P1S or the X1 Carbon or anything that uses that old style where you have to unplug the connectors. I always feel like I'm gonna rip the connectors right out of the holder for that. So yeah, the quick swap system is significantly nicer. Also, the P2S does have a significantly upgraded camera versus the P1S. It has a much higher frame rate. The quality of video coming through is significantly nicer. And something that does help that is the lighting in the P2S is great out of the box. My P1S, it only looks good now because I added a Panda Lux to make it better. Without that, it is quite dark. The P2S does have AI error detection. It is a nice feature, but honestly, I don't know if it's really worth it. I've had it work great, but I've also had it completely miss things. For instance, I have this one issue where the first layer didn't stick and the nozzle blobbed up like crazy. So it is nice when it works, but it doesn't always work, and that is kind of an issue that I have with it. I also do get some false positives with it, and that can kind of sour the feeling of having AI detection like that. One nice feature about some of the AI stuff is that it does have auto flow calibration. This is nice because it does kind of automatically set that before each print with any filament. So you're always going to have a nice print because of that. But realistically, I still get beautiful prints off the P1S without that. Now you can go in and calibrate filament yourself. It's not hard, it just does take some extra time. I also did a quick ASA test. This is on the P1S. It printed quite well, but there is some under extrusion issues here on the corners. The P2S definitely did a little bit better because of that auto flow rate calibration. Another nice little quick feature about the P2S is it does have the auto flap system, so where it can open and close the flap in the back of the printer to help regulate its air temperature inside the chamber. It's a cool feature. It allows you to print with the door closed. When you do print PLA and PETG on the P1S, you are supposed to open the lid and open the door. If you don't do that, you could potentially end up with some heat creep in the extruder and it would just clog everything up. Now this is a really cool add-on that they did between the P1S to the P2S, is that they added a dual feed in here for 2 PTFE tubes. Basically what that's going to do is it allows you to have your AMS run in and an external spool run in, and you can more easily load in external filament this way, especially if you're doing TPU and stuff like that. It's just a nice little handy feature. It's not a huge game breaker. You can print these yourself, but it is nice that it's included now. One thing that is nice while we're here is that they do have this spool holder here on the side that makes it a lot easier to get to your filament rather than having it be on the back, which is where it is on the P1S. Now, before we jump on the whole price difference between these two, let's talk about what actually matters. And realistically, it's gonna come down to a few things: reliability, ease of use, print success. Honestly, they're identical in those regards. This is a little bit easier to use, but it's so small that this is still a super good option. This is the cheapest entry into the Bambu Lab ecosystem for a Core XY printer. Now, both of these are fantastic machines, but the real question is, are the extra features actually worth the extra money? If you're trying to save money, the P1S is an excellent option. If you can afford to spend that little bit of extra, the P2S is definitely going to last you longer. I would go either P1S by itself, P1S with the AMS 1 combo, or if you have the extra money, I would go P2S with the AMS 2 Pro. I wouldn't buy a P1S with the new AMS. I think at that point, you're so close, you might as well just upgrade to the P2S. Now, do you agree with me? Let me know down in the comments below, because I'm actually interested to hear what your thoughts are, because I'm trying to focus more on some budget printers. If you want to learn more about both of these printers, I'm going to put some videos right here. They're both reviews of each individual printer. They're definitely going to help you make a more solid choice. This was kind of just an overview of everything. But yeah, this is Adam from the Red Dad Print Lab, and I'll see you next time.